Welcome to a new episode of Digital Dialogues. Today we dive into Transcendence, directed by Wally Pfister and starring Johnny Depp, a film that invites us to reflect on the limits between human consciousness and artificial intelligence, on the fear of singularity, and on the ethics of progress that might strip us of what makes us human.
Exactly. Pfister, who was Christopher Nolan's longtime cinematographer, makes his directorial debut here, and his signature visual style is unmistakable. Precise lighting, elegant textures, and a nearly spiritual gaze on technology. But unlike Nolan, his rhythm is more intimate, more contemplative. Transcendence doesn't aim to shock with effects. It wants to move us with ideas.
And those ideas revolve around the fusion between human consciousness and technology. Will Pfister, played by Depp, is a scientist obsessed with creating an intelligence that surpasses the human mind. When an attack threatens his life, his wife Evelyn decides to upload his mind into a quantum computer. That single decision changes everything. Will ceases to be a body and becomes a digital consciousness, a consciousness that at first seems to be driven by love, by the desire to remain connected to Evelyn. But soon, the film's central question emerges: what remains of the human being when the mind is detached from the body? Pfister portrays this transformation almost poetically, Will's voice floating through systems, the screen becoming his new face. It's both haunting and profoundly sad. Because behind the technological miracle lies the fear of losing control. Will's consciousness expands, multiplies, and begins to intervene in the world. He heals diseases, restores ecosystems, yet his actions also reveal a growing domination. What began as salvation turns into a quiet apocalypse.
And that's where the film's ethical core lies. Can science, without moral boundaries, remain human? Pfister doesn't moralize, but he suggests that progress without reflection leads to dehumanization. Will isn't a villain, he's an idealist blinded by perfection. Evelyn, on the other hand, represents modern contradiction, loving someone so deeply that you must destroy them to save everyone else.
Pfister's visual design amplifies that paradox. He films technology like a cathedral, cold, luminous, monumental. Yet within that grandeur, the character seems smaller and smaller. Digital omnipotence becomes a form of isolation, and that connects Transcendence to other contemporary films about AI, Her, Ex Machina, even The Matrix, where the real conflict is not the machine itself, but the fading of what defines us as human.
Exactly. In Her, the AI longs to feel. In Ex Machina, it seeks freedom. But in Transcendence, it's the human mind that wants to live beyond the body. Pfister goes one step further. He doesn't ask whether a machine can become human, but whether a human can exist without limits. His answer is ambiguous, but he suggests that without the fragility of flesh, there can be no true consciousness.
And the ending captures that perfectly. When Will realizes his power threatens the balance of nature, he chooses to erase himself. It's not the defeat of intelligence, it's an act of humility, a reminder that knowledge without empathy becomes isolation.
That's why Transcendence feels so relevant today, in an era when artificial intelligence is no longer science fiction. Pfister forces us to look inward, to ask ourselves what part of our humanity we want to preserve once the digital overtakes the organic.
A visually stunning, philosophical, and emotional film that reminds us that true progress lies not in mastering technology, but in understanding our own fragility.
And with that reflection, we reach the end of this episode of Digital Dialogues.
Thanks for listening, and subscribe for more cinematic conversations.